Brad Pitt refused the Rottweiler. Why did Brad Pitt decline to work alongside a Rottweiler? How do Schwarzenegger and Angelina Jolie behave during animal shoots? David Bautista and the Czechoslovakian Wolfdog. Animal trainer Árpád Halász shared his experiences. How did you become an animal trainer?
When I was first called in for a film, the well-known Zoltán Hokai had already been working with animals for a few years, like wolves and bears. Our facilities were next to each other. Mine was a dog training school, and his was where he kept his animals. He called me and said, there was this film called Spy Game with Robert Redford and Brad Pitt, and they needed a dog that could do something really special, because the main character was supposed to fend off an attack as part of the storyline. I said I had a Rottweiler that could run after someone, jump on their back without biting, and knock them off their feet using its chest. We regularly performed this at demonstrations, even with brave volunteers. They asked us to send a video, which they really liked. The test run also went well, and we were selected. The shoot was at the Ludovica Academy. The test there also went well, but we weren't called on the first day. We returned the next day, ate, drank, watched the filming, had a good time, but again, we weren't called. By the third day, we were growing impatient, ready to finally do the stunt. The director explained Brad Pitt's only task would be to look into the camera while the dog runs past him from behind. We would call the dog from behind the camera. The goal was to get a close-up of the actor's face. The actual jump would be done with the stuntman. So we were waiting with the dog. Brad Pitt came out of his trailer, saw the dog and said, "Thanks, but I won't do this," and walked back into his trailer. We just stood there like, what just happened? But he was such a big star, he could afford to say he wouldn't stand there while a Rottweiler ran past him, because Rottweilers are big and scary and all that. Later, in an interview, I said, even my grandmother could have stood there for that. My mom called me and asked, "What do you have against your grandmother?" That was our first such adventure, and I really got to like this world. Over time, we got more and more film-related work, not just with dogs, but with many other animals. We built such a strong reputation in the industry that eventually even Walt Disney could be shown our portfolio.
Have you specialized in any specific type of animal, or can you work with any kind? Do dogs still play a leading role?
Since I grew up in the world of dogs and have been running a dog school since 1991, we mainly worked with dogs at first. Over time, we began receiving more and more exciting requests, like with butterflies, and then mostly farm animals, ducks, geese, chickens, goats, lambs, and so on. I realized we still had a lot to learn. I had to figure out how to solve specific tasks, what the animal needs, what it eats, drinks, how to transport it, everything, down to the last detail. Since there's no animal trainer education in Hungary, I soaked up the words of pigeon keepers, goat herders, and started combining their knowledge with dog training methods. Not everything worked out, of course, but we progressed steadily. I learned that I have to make animals feel that training and learned tasks are a source of safety for them. If something happens, like a light blows out on set, or something falls over, they should seek refuge in what they've been trained to do. Even a dog, if it's startled, say a large cameraman gets in its face, it should still look to me and try to understand what the task is. In a foreign place, it's me and the task. If you do the task, nothing bad can happen to you. That's what an animal must feel.
Who is harder to work with on set, the animals or the superstars?
There are stars who've already achieved everything. We worked with Schwarzenegger on The Terminator, and he no longer has any diva behavior. He acts like a normal person, comes over, shakes hands, and loves the dog. The same with Angelina Jolie, and I could name others. She kicked off her high heels and ran over to pet the dogs. Then there are some who are more difficult because of their diva behavior. In our work, the basic formula is that we're working with an actor, and that's never easy. The problem starts when there's a bonding/training session with the actor, who behaves like a normal human. But once the cameras roll, there's a shift. They enter character and don't want to deal with the animal anymore. That's exactly what happened with David Bautista, a huge wrestler, even in real life, who was very kind during training. The scene was simple. He comes home to a ship, puts down his bag, and is happy to see his wolfdog. We brought our best animal, Tio, the Czechoslovakian Wolfdog, super sweet, with an extremely stable temperament. The training was great. Then, once filming began, the character shift happened. David came through the door, didn't say anything, put down his bag, but it was the wrestler entering the room now. The way he put down the bag, the way he stepped toward the dog basically said, no thanks, I'm out. We had to ask David to imagine butterflies rising from his soul to tone down his overwhelmingly aggressive energy, because we guide the dog with emotion.